Hjertelig velkommen til et nytt program her på Israelkanalen. I dag så tar jeg dere med til Haifa, der vi skal møte en pastor i en messiansk forsamling som heter Shavei Zion. Welcome to Israelkanalens program again, Leon Mazin.
Nice privilege for me to be with you. Welcome.
We had a program with you for a few years back, and a lot of things have happened since then. How has the corona situation affected your church?
First of all, it was a really tough time, and Israel went through many lockdowns. For 1.5 years, nobody in congregation was experienced COVID, but in end of July 2021, we got this in massive way, so about 90 people became sick in one day.
Wow.
Or in 2 days, yes. So it was pretty hard experience. We found that some people became regular to be more online than to come offline to present place. But in same time, we also have seen that number of people who come and want to come really growing, specifically now that all this destruction going down, and people really hungry for real communication. So usually our meetings are 2 hours, but now we have same 2 hours meetings, but after extra 2 hours, people sitting in our cafeteria and just have chance to be each with other. Also, during Corona time, our humanitarian aid services was really working hard, and humanitarian aid programs grow 2 times, at least 2 times, I think even more. Many people from congregation volunteer with us, and also some people who get from us help was interested to become volunteers. So I think was pretty interesting move.
Yes, but it's interesting to hear that you don't only have the normal congregation services and that kind of thing, but you have a very good outreach program as well.
We not call this outreach program, but yes, we try in multiple way to serve the community. For many years, we're running here music school. Also, COVID affected badly on the music school. Before COVID started, we have here about 180 students, children from neighborhood. But after COVID, only 60 come back. So today, number of months after, we have about 100 people come back, study music, and it's a really quality level of music. Yes, we have here also ulpans. It's classes for new immigrants to study language. Also, they was closed during COVID, specifically during lockdowns. But now again, we have 30, even more, 30 plus people come every week to study language. Many things come back. Yes, and also, as you mentioned, we have multiple operation, building work hard during the week, not only for Shabbat meetings.
After COVID kind of disappeared and Israel from March 1st opened up the borders again for everyone, the new situation, how do you look upon that?
We're happy. First of all, usually we're very open for guests, and for 2 years it was just no guests. So now that people start to come, and it's really big blessing for us. We like guests, and we received group from Japan a couple months ago, and yesterday we have friends from US. Now you come, and it's good to be open, and I think all these restrictions, what our government did by COVID, was too much exaggeration. So yeah, it's not means that it's not danger, but I not think all this restriction very helpful. So I want to tell to Norwegian people, Norwegian believers, come back. We're waiting for you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back in Israel after 2.5 years. So Of course, I was thinking also that Israel was maybe one of the most difficult countries to visit because of all the restrictions, and it was hard to come here. And now it's much easier, of course, and better to come and visit Israel again. I want to also ask you about the situation that we see happening now in Europe when Russia has attacked Ukraine and there's a war going on there. How do you see that situation, and are you prepared to help, let's say, refugees from Ukraine or Ukrainian or the Russian Jews that want to make Aliyah?
First of all, that this war started, and I asked our congregation, how many of you have relatives or friends in Ukraine or Russia or in areas that involve it? So 95% of people just raised hand, because it's very touchable for us and very sensitive. And many still have relatives in these places. And you can imagine if our congregation, about 150 people, so about 130 or even more, have some connection, specifically with Ukraine. We have here people who come from Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Moldova, different places. So yes, it's very sensitive. It's number one. Number two, for many years we have a program to receive new olim. And new olim, it's Jews who have right to come back to Israel. And we know that government give them some nice help, but usually it's not enough. And we have volunteering team, and even some person on our staff that daily, weekly work with new immigrants and to explain them and direct them and help them in practical things, like to go together to open bank account or to show some places to look for a job, or even to help to found a rent apartment. We have clothing center downstairs in our building, so we usually give a lot of goods to new immigrants. So in this case, we're pretty ready. I don't want to call these people with name refugees, because refugees, it's people who not Jews and not have clear right to come to Israel. So government take care for refugees, but if some person have Jewish blood and they by love Israel okay to come to Israel, to be in Israel, we're very glad to receive him. Truly, we not yet experience big flow of these people from this conflict. And as I know, and I speak a lot with leaders of Messianic congregation in Kiev, in Nikolaev, in Odessa, in different places. And I know situation. Many people went to Europe, and now they just staying in Europe. We wait for some wave of aliyah, of immigration to Israel. We believe in this. I think it's very biblical.
Yeah, I saw that early when the conflict started, Israel said that maybe 70,000 people from Ukraine would eventually come here. That's a huge number.
But by numbers, about 200,000 people in Ukraine have rights to come to here. How many will come, we don't know. Truly 50 or 70,000, it's not so huge numbers, because I come to Israel 30 years ago, so in this time it was more than 1 million people came. And Israel was in much more difficult situation. So I think welcome if even 200,000 will come. And again, for my observation of Bible, I think this is very biblical if people will come back.
Yeah, because the Bible says that the Jews shall come back from all the countries.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you said that 95% of your congregation have relatives in...
Or friends, relatives or friends.
Yeah. How do these people in your church or congregation, how do they relate to them?
All of us relate to them. We almost daily, almost everybody sends some money to them, because that it's war and that you need extra. You have not you cannot work for money, so we send them money. And my assistant, he was really involved to escaping of 600 people from Odessa, and later you probably will ask him questions. So we connected to some other ministries, to Beit Sar Shalom, and giving them money to establish refugee area in Germany and in Poland. So all the things connected. I participate in some circle of Russian-speaking Messianic pastors from Israel, and us about 35 congregations from all Israel. So every Messianic congregation very much involved, and some more, some less. It depends of communication. But what is important, private people just by themselves, if they have relatives or friends. So a lot of systems how to transfer money to Ukraine. We do it, and of course prayers. Physically, it's really limited ways how to go and to help. Some of our people can do this, and they go and they volunteer, but it's still limited for majority.
So you've helped both in a spiritual way by prayers and in material ways by
sending money
and organizing help.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear, Pastor Leon. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to hear more about your work, and I wish you God's blessing in everything that you do here in Haifa.
Thank you very much, and thank you that Norwegian believers interested what happened in Israel, how it will be with war and with all these refugees, and God bless you, and very welcome back to Haifa, to Shavei Zion, Return to Zion congregation.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to speak a little bit with your assistant, Evgeni.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
That was Pastor Leon Mazin, and now we are going to talk with his assistant, Evgeni Stanukevich. Welcome to Israelkanalen's program.
Thank you. Welcome to Israel and our congregation.
Thanks. When you look at your situation here in Israel, you have had a program that is called the Eagle Project. How has that been affected by the COVID situation?
So during the COVID, it stops. It's a project for Messianic believer soldiers that finished the army, but we hope to go back to Norway maybe even this year, because now there's regulation much better.
Yeah, you are most welcome. You know, Norway have no rules against the COVID anymore. Thank God.
Yeah, tusen takk. I hope to see you this summer.
Yeah, so you're welcome to come back. And I'm also happy to be here in Israel again. So this has been a long stretch where we weren't allowed to come, and now we are here. So we are very thankful to God for this opening.
Yeah, it's good.
I want to ask you, we heard from your pastor, Leon, that you have been working with helping the Jewish congregation in Ukraine to get into to safety. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I have a small company in Kiev, a security company and consulting company that we receive a project in Odessa to improve their security and population control in Odessa. They have a community of almost 1,000 people. But because of the situation on the borders, so we prepare them to the worst case scenario. It's a war scenario and build for them an evacuation plan. So at the spot that everything that started, so we triggered this evacuation plan and we evacuated the community, half of them to Moldova, another half to the western Ukraine, and then from Ukraine to Romania. And almost 300 of those communities, they're orphan children, and some young families.
So what I heard is that men are not allowed to leave Ukraine if you are in the age of to be a soldier.
Right.
So all the men stays behind, and
no, I cannot talk about it too much, but we did pull them out.
You brought them out?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. How many children were there?
It's altogether 270, all kind of ages. The youngest, I think, the age of 3, and then till the student's age. So majority of the evacuation, at the first day we evacuate 150 children to Moldova, and all the rest of the community to the safe place at the Carpathy Mountains. They stayed there for 1 week, and then another stage from Carpathy Mountains to Romania.
But how were you able to? I mean, you said that you had a security company there in Kiev, so you were actually operating that from living in Israel, and you had the manager over there to help.
No, I've been there. I've been in Odessa together with them, and 2 days before the war started, I get to Kiev because I must organize more equipment. I hired additional team from Israel, and I hired local security guards, around 23 people that can be there together with them. At the first stage, they didn't want to move. They thought it's going to be okay and they're going to stay. But they afraid from riots. This is why they hired us. But when they have seen the situation getting worse, so this plan of evacuation, we should turn it on. So when this happened, so my team was with them together with them in Odessa. I've been in Kiev, and we started to evacuate people from Odessa. And I have evacuated some other smaller groups of women and children from Kiev.
Wonderful. Are there more people that, I mean, there is a war going on, so I know that people need help over there, but are you going to help even more groups coming out?
So this task is over for now. We also brought our friends from Norway, from Bergen, that they came with humanitarian aid to those people. Because of the long travel, those kids need some refreshments and clothes and stuff like this. So we also help them humanitarian things. We also raise some funds for them, for people from the world that we know. Our other colleagues open field hospitals in Moldova, Romania, and Poland. So we do have connections. And now our company, I don't know what's gonna be with them, but for now it's shut down because of the situation. But our colleagues still there in Moldova, Poland, and Romania.
The people that worked in your company, how are they doing?
So majority of our staff, they are men because they are private security guards. We do have cars and weapons, so we give everything to them, and they volunteer to local national security of the city.
Are you still having contact with them?
Yes, of course.
And how are they optimistic, or how is their?
It's not easy. We also evacuated their families of our workers out of Ukraine to Poland, but because of their law now, it's better for them. They should take care for their families, only for the situation. But some optimistic, some not. But the situation now it's stable, at least in Kiev.
Yeah. When you look at the big question, Russia attacking Ukraine, how do you look upon that conflict?
You see, I have my own opinion. It's not always nice to hear, but there is two aspects. One is human, what we see in the news, the children and women. I have seen it by myself. So we should feel sorry. We should help. We should have compassion, as believers. But it's also the other side. It's the side of the system and politics. So here I have some different opinion. I don't think this should happen. It was enough tools to avoid this war. Closer negotiation between Russian politics and Ukrainian politics. And now both of them go up on this big tree and nobody knows how they're going to go down, because Putin can lose and Zelensky now feel pretty much a hero, like a savior of the Europe. But my first personal opinion, I'm not think this good to think this way, because this war, he could prevent this war.
Yeah, he could prevent the war, you said, by giving in to the demands of Russia?
No, I think the demands, the last demands, it wasn't so high as I see it. Yeah, it was a NATO thing, not joining the NATO, but actually the last news we see, they didn't have a chance to join the NATO, because France said they're going to vote against, and Germany said they're going to vote against, and also England. So it only was up to him to accept that. and not also to be so naive that if war started, everybody come and join them, because it's not the case. Because everybody told him it's not going to be the case. They just sacrificed him, and in this war there is no winners. Also Russia will lose, also Ukraine will lose. A lot of people, ground, the refugees, it's not a win. You cannot win in such a way. Maybe America will win some things, because they're going to receive a weaker enemy. But if we count only Russia and Ukraine, you can see both sides already and lost.
You have your roots in the former Soviet Union.
I born in Belarus, yes.
In Belarus. If you look at the outcome of this situation, how do you look at what will happen?
I think it's too early to think about it, because there is only two ways. One is they're going to find some middle agreement between when they're going to speak directly. This is what they should do like years ago, to speak directly without any other country involved, because it's a Soviet countries. But this is the best scenario. The worst scenario that none of them gonna get whatever they want, and Russia can become more aggressive, and also make the involvement of the Europe. So I still it's too early to say, but this is the only two ways that I can think about it.
Yeah. Some people that I've spoken with says that Zelensky and Ukraine should surrender, because to keep fighting will make the suffering worse.
Yeah, I don't think that surrender that is the right word, because now Russia have less requirement, because they also want to finish this, but Russia cannot be a losing side. So they should negotiate it. Maybe the NATO things can go down of the list. So the word surrender is not the point. I don't think they're going to surrender. It's not the case. The right word is agreement, political agreement. It's not a surrendering thing.
I see. So how do you look up on this war situation that suddenly happened? Someone says it goes back to 2014, but anyway, it happens now in this year. How do you look up at that in the view of the last things, the end time things?
Yeah. I don't think this war suddenly happened. Everybody spoke about it. Also, when we read the Bible, we see the wars is coming, and wars coming between brothers, not between nations. Slavic people against Slavic people, Arab people against Arab people. So we do see it in the Bible. It's once. We also do see, and when we read the news, we can see the noise of this war from 2008. Both of the sides spoke about this war. Both of the sides spoke about the conclusions of this war. Both of the sides spoke that they're ready to sacrifice people, they're ready to sacrifice the ground, and that we can see from Ukrainian side, they're ready to sacrifice so much to join the EU and the NATO. We already see and hear these noises many years ago, but people don't like to listen to those stuff because it's funny, it sounds funny, till it's happened. People prefer to be naive, that everybody's going to help them and stuff like this, but there is one sentence: if you want to hire something really good, just put it in the most seen place, and everybody gonna ignore it, because now we're much more smarter, but it's already happened. Both of the sides could avoid it by good negotiations and some agreements. Also in the Crimea, what happened in 2014. Also because it was so much people, parties involved in it, so it couldn't be better outcome, because they didn't want to speak directly. And of course, it's only my opinion. I like politics. I like this work. I like to see how and watch how system work. It's not a human side, what we see, but also to pay attention to the things and to pay attention to what's written in the Bible. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be better, but we should pay attention to what is going on. And of course, God is in control. We can pray, we can do whatever we want, but God has a plan. God is going to move this plan forward as everything is written, actually.
Amen. God has everything under control.
Yes.
Well, I wish you all the best, Evgeni, and in your work, and also with the Eagle Project, and I welcome you to Norway again.
Yeah, tusen takk.
Thank you very much for participating in this program.
Thank you for your time.
Og til dere seere så vil jeg bare si tusen takk for at dere fulgte oss gjennom denne sendingen, og på gjensyn neste uke. Og husk det at Gud har alt under kontroll. Takk for det.